Yo, what's going on, guys? It is FoxyDude98 here. Welcome back to a brand new video for you guys today here on the channel. Today we're here with the debate for the US Grand Prix, and the main topic of this debate is what we're going to be discussing mainly is how Kimi Räikkönen outclassed Lewis Hamilton in the US Grand Prix. And obviously, as per the debate, I picked the main topic to go with, which is Kimi Räikkönen, and I'm going to be reviewing an incident which I've got right here, which you can kind of tell already what it is. And then obviously I put out a couple of polls, and we're going to go through those for you guys. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and talk about Kimi Räikkönen and how he outclassed Lewis Hamilton in the US Grand Prix. If you haven't seen the US Grand Prix yet, you've lived under a complete rock. That was the best race of the season so far. I don't care about Baku. I don't care about Silverstone. I don't care about Germany. USA wins. Thank you, Kota, for an amazing Grand Prix. And today, we're going to start discussing it. So, obviously, in the Grand Prix, we saw that Kimi Räikkönen won the Grand Prix for the first time since Australia 2013. And everyone was just happy. Like, you can't not be happy that Kimi Räikkönen has finally won a race. There is nothing that you can't hate about Kimi. That's what just makes Kimi, well, Kimi really. But today I'm going to be talking about how he outclassed Lewis Hamilton. Now, a lot of people have been stating, you know, how Mercedes made the wrong strategy call and how Ferrari made the perfect strategy. But I actually disagree with both of those. I think Mercedes did a good strategy. But why I'm going to discuss this now is I believe personally that Kimi Räikkönen was the reason that Mercedes' strategy fell through. So we're going to talk about that now. So, in the Grand Prix, we saw that the virtual safety car came out. Well, first of all, Kimi Räikkönen got off to the better start against himself and Hamilton. Obviously, being on the ultra soft tyres, that would have worked for him. And he took the lead in towards the first corner, left Hamilton out for dust. Very similar to last year when Vettel overtook Hamilton, but in that race, Mercedes were faster than Ferrari. This weekend, Mercedes were a little bit off in terms of pace, but Ferrari definitely found some form again. In the Grand Prix itself, we saw that Räikkönen pulled away. Hamilton was able to stick with Kimi Räikkönen. And then eventually, under the virtual safety car that came out on lap 11, I think it was, Mercedes decided to pit, and they decided to do the opposite to Räikkönen. The reason that Mercedes decided to do the opposite to Räikkönen was because Kimi was on the ultra soft tyres, which could only last between about lap 14 and lap 18, around about that, whereas the super soft tyres could go to lap 24, 26, something like that. And Mercedes thought, well, Räikkönen might just pit, and under a virtual safety car, this was a perfect opportunity for a cheap pit stop, and Mercedes took it. So it got to the point whereby if Mercedes made this pit stop, they then would be able to try and catch back up to Räikkönen. If they were able to overtake Räikkönen, they could then try and build as big a gap as possible before Kimi pitted. And then, of course, once Kimi pitted, he's not only lost time in terms of Lewis Hamilton, but in terms of trying to gain it back, he's got an even tougher task ahead of him. In the race itself, it's clear that the soft tyres, which were the yellow-marked tyres, were not a good race tyre in the race. And it was good to see that, you know, even Verstappen was saying, you know, Max came in on lap 23 or something like that, and he put the super soft tyres on, and he took those all the way to the end. So it kind of showed that, in theory, Mercedes-Benz did it the wrong way in that sense. You know, they stayed out way too little on their tyres when they should have just taken the super softs as long as damn possible and then gone onto the soft tyres later on. But in that situation, Hamilton then caught back up to Räikkönen, which is exactly what he needed to do. But Hamilton was saying after the race, he was saying that he was puzzled by how he lost that Grand Prix and how Mercedes lost it. There's two reasons for this. Number one, the strategy was not quite done how they wanted it. Number two, they had a Ferrari of Kimi Räikkönen right in their way. There's no other way of putting it. It was Räikkönen that won the race for Ferrari. So, when it came to pitting, Hamilton stopped. Räikkönen was starting front. Hamilton, well, he's just going to get let through by Bottas. Let's just face that. And then, for that situation, Kimi, in terms of the battle, Hamilton couldn't get past Kimi. Kimi did exactly what he needed to do. And in that situation, Lewis Hamilton lost 8 seconds of time. He basically lost the whole virtual safety car advantage that he would have had. So when Lewis Hamilton came into the pits and he rejoined back on track, the gap was 12 seconds between himself and Verstappen. if they pitted at the same time, but they didn't lose 8 seconds worth of time, he would have only had to close 4 seconds, which means he had so much more tyre life that he could push so much harder, and it would have worked for him. The strategy was there to work for, but Raikkonen did a brilliant defensive performance and just outclassed everyone. He didn't crack under pressure. He didn't break any nerves, and when Hamilton tried to overtake him, he held his own. He could have stayed out even longer, but he had to do something. He had to come through. And the biggest shock of me for the race was when Ferrari said to Sebastian, "Get out of the way of Kimi Räikkönen." And Kimi Räikkönen won the race from it. That is literally the biggest kick in the teeth possible. But for me, I'm putting this out there. Ferrari's strategy was good. They did the one stop. They had the tyre life. They weren't happy on them, but they did it. Mercedes, they did have a 2-stop race. Now, why Hamilton suffered in terms of blistering more than everybody else was simple. As soon as he pitted under the VSC, he then had to go ahead and push hard to get back to Kimi. So he's using tyre life. And then as soon as he pits for a second time, he's then got 12 seconds. He's got to push hard to close 12 seconds down. So Mercedes, for me, they didn't have bad tyre wear in the race. For me, the reason that Hamilton struggled on his tyres is because he was forced to push. That's why. And he was forced to push to the point where the tyres were blistered. Go back to Monza last year. Monza this year. Raikkonen was leading the Italian Grand Prix. Hamilton was behind him. And Mercedes were better on their soft tyres. They were able to push, Hamilton was able to push Raikkonen a little bit more. Raikkonen then had blistering. Hamilton then flicked the switch and overtook him for the lead. That's how it worked on that front. And this is how it worked here today. Raikkonen drove the perfect race. Hamilton drove a good race but didn't quite master the strategy because he was forced to push too hard. And Verstappen, once again, has shown how his season has transformed from being an absolute mess at the start of the year to being an absolute genius come this year. So, yeah, full credit to Max Verstappen, 18th on the grid and fighting for a win. He is literally a rising star. He just needs a full clean season now. The start of the season wasn't for him. It didn't really kick off for him until Canada. And if you think about the Drivers' Championship now, I think he's on 196 points and Bottas is on like 219. And if you think about having a good race, like in Austria, he was spinning, you know, he didn't finish, he finished behind a McLaren. In Bahrain, he retired. In China, he smacked around hit Vettel. In Azerbaijan, he retired again with contact with Ricciardo. And then in Spain, he actually had a decent, clean race and got a podium. In Monaco, he only managed to finish just in the points because he crashed. And then from Canada onwards, it's taken off. Like, the start of the season was wretched. Think where he could be now. And again, like, you've got like Hungary when he DNF'd. Like, think where Verstappen could be. Same with Ricciardo. None of the Red Bulls have had luck, and I've got to think about that. But that's how I personally felt that Kimi Räikkönen outclassed Hamilton. He just drove the better race. He forced Hamilton to push hard on his tyres, and that's why Mercedes' tyres blistered, or Hamilton's did anyway. He just didn't have the tyre life. And in the second stint, sure, Hamilton was able to close up more because he's got fresh tyres on it against even more worn tyres, but he had such a big gap to close. Imagine if that was 8 seconds that he didn't lose, and if he actually gained a little bit more, he would have probably maybe even won the race. Who knows? But that's the beauty of hindsight. So for me, Mercedes-Benz, you were just well and truly beaten on that day by Kimi Räikkönen, who drove the best race I've seen him drive for a very long time, probably since his win in 2013. But that's all I've got to say for Kimi Räikkönen. Moving on next then, we're going to go to the incident between Vettel and Ricciardo. Now, we're going to go ahead and have a little juicy look at this incident. There's not really much to say about this incident, to be honest. I thought I'd put it in. It's probably the most incidental thing that we had to look at. Overall, it's Vettel versus Ricciardo. You can see here that Sebastian is attacking Daniel Ricciardo. This is on the first lap of the Grand Prix. Vettel actually got the move done on Ricciardo, and I think due to the dirty air, he sort of locked up the rear axle slightly. Ran a bit wide. Ricciardo got this undercut going. At this point, Daniel Ricciardo is ahead of Sebastian Vettel. You can see it right there. Ricciardo has got ahead. At this point, Daniel is more than eligible to just come on through and turn in on Sebastian. As he has got the run, he's just got to brake late and turn in and sort of get the rear end to step out a little bit and force Seb to back off. But Sebastian did a little bit of a late braking move into the corner. You'll see it right here now. Vettel's getting the run, and in towards this corner, you can see that he's got the racing line. And he's turning through, and there's no problems here. Look how much space Daniel Ricciardo is giving to Vettel. There's plenty of space there. Ricciardo has realised Vettel's on the inside. What Daniel is doing right now is he's potentially setting up for a switchback. He is waiting for Vettel to go across and go along and hit the outside line. Ricciardo is looking to try and swoop through and carry on the fight. This is very, very similar to what Hamilton did versus Verstappen. If you remember, Hamilton was on the outside and tried it, and then he sort of backed himself off and set himself up for a second switchback. This is what Ricciardo is trying to do here. And you'll see, just in the mid-corner, right about now, there's the first little bit of extra steering lock. So he comes on in, steering sort of being adjusted slightly, so he's already feeling a little bit wrong with the back end of the car, and that could as well be from the turbulent air of Bottas, because of course they're all very close to each other. Tyres might not be fully up to temperature, brakes not be fully up to temperature, you've got all of that. At this point then as well, Vettel then decides to get another extra bit of steering lock, so he's already lost it a little bit, now he's trying to get in fully to try and get in towards the corner. And as they move along slightly, he's now, Ricciardo's on the outside, and there you go right there. Now, that right there is a perfect amount of understeer, and actually a little bit of oversteer as well, because here, he's not physically trying to turn into Ricciardo. There's no way that Vettel ever would think, right, I'm just going to turn into Ricciardo, I'm just going to whack him off the track. No way. At this point, you can see how the wheels are going. At this stage, he's getting a little bit, he's just not quite got full balance of the car. He's getting a bit of understeer, he's getting a bit of oversteer, and he's now got a big snap of oversteer, which is why he's having to lock the steering towards the left in a right-hander. And his problem is he's got Ricciardo there. And obviously, when you've got another driver there, you can see straight away, look, he's then trying to turn back in again. So he's literally, as going from mid-corner, he's lost the back end. You can see the car is sliding through the corner. This is Vettel under pressure here. The car is sliding, and then as soon as he bumps into Ricciardo, now how Vettel spins around is quite weird actually, but the reason that he kind of spins is because he's turning left, he's taking a little bit of a bump, and it's just spinning around. And unfortunately for me in this situation, this is one of those incidents where Vettel is super unlucky to spin around here. I don't understand. It's such a light contact, like right here. It's almost as if Vettel is a... Someone actually put it in the comments section on my polls that we'll have a look in a minute. I want to find it. And he basically said that Sebastian Vettel was like a Beyblade. He just keeps spinning everywhere. But honestly, you can't fault Ricciardo for this one. There is no way you can put any blame on Daniel Ricciardo. He is on the outside. He's giving him loads and loads of space. And at some point, Ricciardo needs to turn into this corner. And if Vettel is making a mistake in terms of the back end coming out, this is a racing incident, but it's Vettel's mistake with the balance of his car that cost him in terms of the situation. Fair play to him, he fought himself back up into P4 again, but obviously on this one it's a racing incident, there's nothing to it, no one is really at fault. If you have to blame anyone, you'd have to put it at Seb, but it's not like a case of, right, this is Sebastian's fault. Like, the purpose was, the only reason that he spun was because Ricciardo was there. If Ricciardo wasn't there, he'd have a snap of oversteer, he'd run wide on the exit a little bit, and that would be that. The only reason he spun is because Ricciardo's there, and the Ferrari is literally made of a Beyblade. So that's kind of that for the Seb incident. You can't put a blame on Seb, you can't put it on Ricciardo. Seb spun just because Ricciardo was there, and he would have gone wide on the exit, and you leave it at that. Moving on then to the polls for this video. So I actually went ahead and put up 3 for this one. I wanted to put up a few more, but I decided to go ahead and just put up the 3 for now. So the first one, obviously, well, best race I've ever watched. Well, that was just after the US Grand Prix when I went mental. So, you mean, this guy right here. Raikkonen's first victory since 2013. Verstappen got second from 18th. Top 3 split under 3 seconds. Verstappen versus Hamilton for second. Vettel spun back to fight fourth. And much, much more. Yeah, there's no reason why. This one I kind of actually don't agree with now that I'm looking at it. Vettel has to stop going down the inside of drivers and spinning. He was perfectly alongside. He just had a bit of oversteer, so that's why he bumped into Ricciardo and spun. It happens. I'll never forget this race. It was an absolute classic. I mean, you know, it was amazing. It was awesome, and yeah, that was brilliant. Anyway, let's move on then to the first poll. So the first poll of the race week was, I wanted to discuss red flags with you guys. Sebastian Vettel got a 3-place grid penalty for going too fast under the red flags, which obviously dropped him to P5 on the grid. He would have started on the front row. Who knows where he may have ended up if he was on the front row. Nevertheless, I wanted to get your opinion. Do you think that a 3-place grid penalty was fair? Do you think that it should just change to a reprimand and a fine? or do you think that no penalty should come from a type of incident in practice? For me, I'm torn between reducing it to a reprimand and a fine, and then keeping it a 3-place grid penalty. No matter what, I think drivers should be in trouble for this. But for an example, like if you do an unsafe release in the pits, or if you accidentally speed in the pit lane, you always had a reprimand and a fine for this one. So I was thinking, if a red flag comes out, should you do the same thing? Now, the lap has already been uploaded in terms of Vettel's full flying lap, in terms of his lap time itself. Vettel was continuously accelerating and decelerating, and was still going at quite a high speed. And it wasn't until he got to the second to last corner that did he slam on the brakes. There was a lot of red flag light boards that were being placed around. So for me, the overall penalty system itself was fair, but I just didn't know whether it should be should it really be a grid penalty? I mean, really? So I thought I'd get some of your guys' opinions. So we'll have a look at some of the top comments then. Once again, I want to thank you guys for putting in your opinions. So the first one here from Nkossi, I probably said that wrong. Anyway, so it's maybe a 1 or 2 places better. But given that, I think it might be another Bianchi type situation. It's definitely required. And of course, this is actually a very, very strong point. I've not actually read any of these. Of course, if you're going to slow down, it's in the wet conditions. If they need to bring out any vehicles during the time, you've got to slow down. You can't go too fast. Or like he said, I feel like I just think, you know, this is a bit too much. We've got someone here then who thinks otherwise, from Unbekant, I think, NL. Again, I'm really bad with names. He believes they should change it to a reprimand and a fine. They state, I feel like a grid drop is way too much. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Ferrari fan and German and it happened to Vettel. I just don't feel that it should be, it's not much of an impact because it's only practice. And that's kind of what I think of this at the same time. Now, as well, we believe this, like, Daniel Ricciardo got a penalty for this in Austria. Esteban Ocon got a penalty for doing this in the Japanese Grand Prix last week. So everyone's done it. And then we've got here, you know, Grosjean has got a 3-place grid penalty for what he did in Spain. 3-place grid penalty is fair, but Vettel's penalty was harsh. He was driving slow enough. Unfortunately, I just think the lap, I saw the lap. There was plenty of red flag light boards, and he was still doing 170 miles an hour through corners, and then he dropped it straight away, like second to last corner, just slammed on the brakes. He definitely slowed. I'm not going to say he didn't. He just slowed too late. Like, he slammed on the brakes when he only just realised, and obviously going around the lap. The stewards have the data. I'm not going to say that I have the data. I want to find someone that says that there shouldn't be one. Where does, no penalty, there we go, random, you found it. I think it should depend on why the red flag is out, and what part of the track the incident is, and where the driver is. Personally, I think Vettel slowed down enough, especially because it was raining. There's just too many rules in F1 at the moment, and the race on Sunday would have been a lot different if Vettel didn't have a penalty. You've got a fair point. I mean, you know, it is what it states. Obviously, you can debate whether it should or shouldn't be a penalty. I think overall, in terms of rules are in place for a reason, and F1 has gone very, very precautious on its rules, mainly due to the fact of Jules Bianchi. That's the reason they've done it. They want to make sure that F1 is as safe as possible, without ruining the racing, if that makes sense. But we don't have the data, so if there's data, the only reason that the stewards summoned Vettel to the stewards' room and gave him a penalty is because they looked at the whole data and they saw that he didn't slow down enough. So they've got all of the telemetry. We don't. We can only speculate on that one. But most of you are pretty much stating that some form of punishment should be there, whether it should be a reprimand, whether it should be a penalty. Most of you still believe that a 3-place grid penalty is fair, and let's face it, Vettel started second and he dropped down to 5th. That's not really that much of a massive problem, and it wasn't going to mean that he couldn't have won the race. If he overtook Ricciardo without having a spin, and then obviously got through and was able to get past Bottas, he's got Hamilton and Raikkonen right in front of him. So for me, really, I don't think a 3-place grid penalty is in any way effective and is really damaging. So I kind of think 3-place grid penalty should stay after having a look at it now. Second poll that I went ahead and put up was for Ferrari fans. This was dedicated for you, and I asked the question: are you getting sick and tired of Vettel tripping over drivers in races? Obviously, we saw Vettel have an incident with Verstappen in the Japanese Grand Prix, and then we saw Vettel have an incident with Ricciardo in this Grand Prix. And we saw him spin in Monza as well. So I'm going to go for it. And I basically wanted to say, do you think, I put 2 out here and I said, you know, Yes, it is a joke now. Like, you know, are you genuinely getting frustrated with what Vettel is getting into in races? And second one was just, no, he's just having one of those seasons, which obviously people have seasons where they just make mistakes. And, oh, there it is. It's cool, kid. Seb is a freaking Beyblade this season. That's where I got it from, because it literally just spins. It's amazing. Anyway, let's have a go through it. So, Quintin says, I'll give him one more season because it took Schumacher 5 years to win the title with Ferrari. It's a fair point. You know, Schumacher joined in 96. And it took him until the year 2000 to pick up his first title. So yeah, let's have a look at so it's a fair point, you know. But obviously, do we have a 100% guarantee that Ferrari will win the title next season? Are they going to have a championship-winning car? Ferrari are one of those teams where it's like, right, we got the best car on the grid, and now we're useless. But who knows? Anyway, cool kid. Yeah, he's a freaking Beyblade. This one, right? So Vettel just needs to push that idiot called Hamilton off the track. 3-2-1. Hamilton rage fans incoming. Yeah, that's racing. Forza Boy says, right, yes, it's a joke now. He locked up in Baku. The wrong strategy in Spain. Right, I'll correct you on that one. It was the right strategy in Spain. Ferrari did not have the good... Ferrari were bad at looking after their tyres. They had to make the two-stop. There was no way Vettel could make it to the end of the race. Crashed into Bottas in France. Yes. Got a 3-place grid penalty for blocking a driver in Austria. That's true. Crashed out in Germany. Span out in Italy, the wrong strategy in Singapore. Once again, it wasn't the wrong strategy in Singapore. What they wanted to do is they wanted to pit Vettel onto the ultra softs, but they did not get the gap to Sergio Perez. They needed Vettel to get past Perez immediately. He didn't get past Perez, so Hamilton rejoined in front, and from then on in, he needed to look after the ultra softs because they were the ultra softs. If he got in front of Hamilton, he could have pushed away, got a nice gap, maybe come in for a second stop, and then pushed on a new set of tyres. Didn't work out that way. They tried something different to beat Hamilton. It didn't work. Spun in Japan, spun in USA. So, yeah, there's a lot that went wrong for Vettel this season, but just pointing out some stuff there. Tobias, 1712. No, he's just having one of those seasons. Vettel needs to risk a lot of things to beat Lewis, but he seems to be unbeatable this season. Hamilton deserves the title, but Vettel tries his best to stop him. Mistakes can happen. Kind regards from Germany. I'm going to give you a love heart for that one. I like it when people actually just go ahead and put very, very kind comments. It really actually helps with these things. But yeah, that's credit for someone. And I mean, he's from Germany, so most likely he's a Vettel fan. And this is what F1 community should be like, you know? We can accept that Hamilton has just been better this season. Vettel gave it a good go. They've just had another one of those problems. If they can have just one clean and consistent season, then there you go. So anyway, Josiah. I'm going to call you Josiah. I'm going to call you Josiah just because it sounds cool. Vettel is a yoke. A yoke. Now, there's a lot of people that keep saying yoke everywhere. I feel like, have I done something that's caused yoke everywhere? I don't get it. Anyway, it's just yoke all day, every day. But anyway, we've got another one. In 2 cases, he couldn't do anything. I'm guessing you're talking about the Ricciardo and Verstappen incidents. Maybe the Hamilton one. In the Hamilton incident, Hamilton was already in front, so he needed to back off. In Japan, he was a bit late of a lunge on Verstappen. In fairness to him in the USA, there was nothing much he could have done. He had a snap of oversteer. He's got to correct it, and he's going side by side. He bumped Ricciardo, and it was an unlucky spin. I'll give it to Seb in this race in USA. People would say, why did you dive at the inside? He had more than every right to dive at the inside. He just lost the back end. It happens. Yeah, look, why is everyone saying yoke? Have I said something which means yoke? I don't understand. Boeing says, nah, I think next season will be better. Straight up answer. Lewis says, it's funny to teach him a lesson not to be sassy and obnoxious. He's not sassy and obnoxious, and no one needs to be taught a lesson, but there you go. Nathaniel Miller says, right, as an American, I'm pretty used to seeing drivers bump, barge, rub, push, and hit other drivers during the course of a race. If you ask me, it's not racing if they're not hitting each other, fighting tooth and nail for position, trying to get that top spot at all costs. I agree with you. With F1 cars, it's so easy to get spun around with just a little bit of a bump here or there, and as others have pointed out, Vettel is trying his hardest to take the fight to Hamilton, but through sheer bad luck and other factors, he's struggling in the second half of the season. It happens, everyone has one of those seasons, and even the greater ones. That being said, I personally enjoyed the contact, the think is more needed. As we hear say in the States, rubbish is racing. Do you know what? Love heart. That's a really well put out comment. I agree with you. You know, if you're not bumping and barging, if you're not giving each other a bit of a whack here and there, you're just not racing. And in just those occasions, there are some points where bumping and barging is too much, but sometimes when you see that little puff of tyre smoke, Azerbaijan, for example, shut up, phone, I swear to God. And then if you think that, it's just cool. Arvid says he's a fidget spinner. Okay. Well, you do realise that the comment is Vettel haters or Schumacher haters, and they want Vettel to leave F1 and to make Vettel the worst driver in the world? No? I literally am just asking a question. Do you think Vettel is... This is not a post for is Vettel... Is this not a post to attack Vettel? This is just a post to say, are you getting frustrated with Vettel spinning? And this is for a Ferrari fan. This is not a poll suggesting otherwise. Whoa, this is a long one. Jesus, Julian, this is long. It's like my schlong. I think in the end, yes, I appreciate and accept that Vettel has crashed a few times, recently made some mistakes, Germany, Baku, Italy, all those, but honestly don't believe the last two instances, Ricciardo and Verstappen, 100% Vettel's fault. I honestly think Verstappen's was his fault. Ricciardo, no. Behind my logic, I'm thinking is Japan was the gap when Vettel went for it. As he said on Team Radio, if he didn't go for it, he might as well have stayed at home. I totally agree and understand with that point. Ayrton Senna had a similar mindset. I agree with what you're saying, but I think Vettel, the problem is if you go for a gap, you need to go for a gap that exists and you go for the overtake. When Vettel was making his moves on the inside of Spoon, he was making them to the point where he was alongside way before he got to Spoon. But on this one, he had such a high close. The problem with Vettel's move on Verstappen was because he had such a great closing speed on Max, when he went for it, he was obviously going at that corner so much faster than anybody else. And the point is Verstappen will defend the position. Everyone else is not going to defend the position. They don't really care. And that's what happens. Anyway, moving on, I want to reach your point. Now I'm not going to be comparing Vettel to Senna. Sure, I think Vettel is great, but the car he won his 4 world titles in were great, as well as the same for Schumacher and Hamilton. The car has been either dominant or just quick enough. Now move on to Ricciardo. For sure, it's a bit of a different incident, and I think realistically it has a number of contributions. Ricciardo's on the outside and probably didn't have a great view of Vettel. I also think Vettel got a lot of understeer, therefore he started sliding into the Red Bull. So for me, the evidence is there to suggest it's easy to point the finger at Vettel, but less to slow down, and looked exactly like it happened in the moment. I don't hold Ricciardo responsible, but I think it's 100% a racing incident. I agree with you. Let's look at Hamilton. He tripped over other drivers like Massa and Rosberg. Totally agree with you. Especially in 2011, Hamilton was a complete mupper, whatever. Plenty of others. I think that's just racing for you. You have good moments and bad moments, but at the end of the day, at the end of the result, that speaks louder, and no one wins 4 world titles, 53 race wins, or something along the line of 50-odd poles. That includes 5 wins this season. Also, Vettel will and should secure 2nd place in the race in Mexico for the 2nd season running and 3rd time in his career. And I'm sorry to say this, that confirms 2 things. Vettel can race, and 2, Vettel can win in a car despite not being designed by Adrian Newey. Yeah, that's because the Ferrari is better than the Red Bull. Also, one thing, I don't think this year has been bad for Vettel. I think looking back so far, his 10-year career, 2014 must be the worst year, and I think he's had some pretty decent seasons since then. Yeah, I agree. 2014 was probably the worst season. He got slapped by Ricciardo. My biggest problem is this year, Ferrari have had a car which has been better than Mercedes at a lot of points in the season. Now, I'm not saying that Ferrari have had the best car all season. Mercedes have had the best car at points. If you wanted to go through them, Australia should have been Mercedes, Ferrari won. Bahrain, China, Azerbaijan were all Ferrari races. Spain was Mercedes. Monaco, Red Bull. Canada was all Ferrari, and they won it. Austria was Mercedes, and they double DNF'd. Silverstone was Mercedes, but Ferrari managed to take the win. Germany was a Ferrari track, but they lost it on their own accord. Hungary was a Ferrari track, but they didn't get it right in qualifying, and Mercedes took advantage, and they managed to hold on. In Spa, it was a Ferrari track, and they won. In Monza, it was a Ferrari track, and they lost. In Singapore, it was a Mercedes track, weirdly enough, and they won. Russia was all Mercedes. Japan was all Mercedes. And then USA was all Ferrari. So they've had their chances throughout the season. I just don't think Ferrari have taken the chances when they had the best car. But no, you've made up a very good point. Now I know how the Red Bull fans feel with Verstappen. I mean, true, because I literally took the mick out of him. Okay, please don't be against Seb. There's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. I'm not against Sebastian in any way, shape or form. I'm literally just asking you, do you feel like it's getting a bit frustrating? I'm not attacking Seb in any way, shape or form. I never would attack Seb for something like this. I'm literally just asking a question, you know? I'm just saying, as a Ferrari, I'm asking you as a Ferrari fan, are you frustrated with that? If you're not frustrated with it, just put, no, not frustrated with it. I'm not simply, if I put in this poll, this is Ferrari fans' view. Sebastian has been absolutely terrible this season. He's probably driven the worst he's ever driven, and in a car that should have been the fastest, he's completely bottled it and doesn't deserve to be in Ferrari. And he is the worst driver ever and is completely overrated. Are you getting sick and tired of his driving? That's attacking Seb. This isn't attacking Seb. I'm just asking, do you think he should be, are you just getting annoyed that he's being involved in incidents? You just take it way too seriously. So yeah, so that's kind of it for that one. And pretty much, yeah, you know, people are mostly yeah, people are mostly no. So overall, majority of you, 76%, are starting to get a bit frustrated now with Sebastian's incidents. Final poll then for the debate, and it is number 3. With the Red Bull car being so unreliable this year, do you think that Red Bull could have made a challenge this year? That's what I wanted to ask. Now, Red Bull have had so many incidents this year where they've just had DNFs after DNFs, you know. Australia, they didn't have a brilliant race. You know, in Bahrain, they had a double DNF. In China, Verstappen messed up, Ricciardo won. In, what's it called? What's the next race after that? Azerbaijan, they double DNF'd. In Spain, they were okay. In Monaco, they battered it. You know, they've had double DNFs and they've had problems. And I wanted to know, do you think that they should genuinely have had an opportunity at winning the title? 25% of you think yes, you think they had a chance. 69% of you said no, however, they would have been much closer. And 6% of you said no matter what, they would have challenged for the title. Now, I want to get up the F1 2018 Drivers' Championship for this one. I don't know what these two random people are doing on my screen. Standings, that's what I want. Because I kind of want to get this up at the moment. Because this is really interesting to look at here. So, Hamilton obviously leads the way. But have a look at where Verstappen is, right? He's got 191 points. Compare that to Bottas on 217 and Raikkonen on 221. Raikkonen DNF'd in Spain, and I think he DNF'd somewhere else. Bottas DNF'd in Austria and had other bad lucks along the way, and Azerbaijan. Whereas Verstappen, like I said before, he had an issue. He wasn't good in Austria. He DNF'd in Bahrain. He messed up in China. And like I said, all the way through, like, imagine if Verstappen had a full, clean season, as if everyone did. Verstappen's on 191 points. Like, he's had so many problems. I honestly think Verstappen could be third in the championship. Maybe, just maybe, have an outside shot at attacking Vettel. I'm not saying he would have, but honestly, I just felt like it. I wanted to get that question out there. First of all, Kimi for president. So I just put lol because it's funny. Boeing says, Renault lacks in terms of power. However, I do believe that the Red Bull has the best chassis at the moment. The biggest problem is the Renault engine, not just reliability. It's just not the same level as Mercedes and Ferrari. Pretty much all you guys were basically agreeing that they would have been a lot closer. But the biggest problem was the just lack of top speed. You know, yeah, once again, look, the lack of top speed is too big. The Renault engine is too slow, but the chassis is just well above the rest. The engine is just not powerful enough. I'm Italian, siding with Ferrari for life. I appreciate that, but I'm just asking a question if you prefer. I'm Mercedes for life, but I'm just asking if they would have been there. Luglow says they might have been a few more wins, but I don't think they'd be fine for the championship. Ricciardo would be second in the championship standings with Seb's issues, but nowhere near Hamilton. Ricciardo's 146. In fairness, actually, no, I'll give you that one. Ricciardo's had a hell of a lot more DNFs recently. I'm talking about both of them, though. Both of them would be way up there. Potentially in front of Raikkonen and Bottas. I think they could have. I think they would have. Would have been much closer. You think that they were, they were strong this year. Renault is too slow, unfortunately. So that's pretty much that. So there are all the polls there. You basically are believing there that Red Bull would have been much closer, but their Renault power unit just isn't there yet. Maybe with the Honda power unit next year, they'd be able to be much stronger. Who knows? But guys, that is going to wrap it up for the debate for this episode. That is how Kimi Räikkönen outclassed Lewis Hamilton. That's the incident analysed with Vettel, and they're the polls that I've gone through there. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys next week where we'll be going through the debate of the Mexican Grand Prix, where it looks like all Hamilton needs to do to win the championship is to score 5 points from 3 races. Vettel has to win all 3 of them to win with a chance of winning the championship. But until then, guys, I will see you then. Take care all.